First of all, I always say that, if the quick commerce in pharma was same as the quick commerce in other spaces, it would have already been done, right? And largely, even now, in the mid 2025, it's largely unavailable. One is, of course, the big problem compliance. I was actually talking to one of the largest player into quick commerce space. I won't name them, but I spoke to them and they said by this mid-year, we had a target of 100 dark stores to get a license of pharma. They could only procure for 20 of them, right? Out of 100 target that they had, they could only procure 20 of them.
Hello everyone. Welcome in the another episode of 21 Minute Pharma Edge powered by Game of Pharma. And today we have with us a very special guest, Kaushal Shah sir. Sir is founder of eVitalRx and the PillO. So sir, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
सर मतलब मैंने एक ट्रेंड देखा है अभी राइट कि
Hmm.
रिटेल फार्मा चेन्स के अंदर भी और लाइक सेम फार्मा के अंदर जो पीपल एंटर कर रहे हैं लाइक मोस्ट ऑफ देम लाइक ए गुड परसेंटेज ऑफ द पीपल आर फ्रॉम फाइनेंस राइट like who had
Hmm.
experience in the finance or was working in accounting, vice president in accounting some companies, right? So what sparked your journey, right, into reinventing pharma delivery or pharma tech?
Yeah, sure. So it was more of a detour to get into the finance rather than getting into pharma, technically speaking. I am a pharmacist myself.
Oh.
I graduated from Ahmedabad. There is a college named LM College of Pharmacy, one of the most reputed college in the country. When I moved to US, I changed my career eventually after doing my master's actually even. So I had two masters, changed my career into finance, worked at a hedge fund for a while, for 7, 8 years actually. And it wasn't an overnight thought that look, what, let's start something in a quick commerce in pharma or something like that. It was a series of events. One thing we realized that India was booming. India was catching this bug of buying things online and things like that. And back then, Pharmacy and 1mg were high flyers. But one of the things that never stuck out to me, very frankly, being perhaps from a finance guy, is what kind of unit economics they were having, where they delivered. So one of my friend, I asked him to order Digene, strip of Digene, which is like 15 rupees or something. And they actually did deliver next day or so. And the guy asked him how much they got paid for the delivery, and there was like 30 rupees. And the gross margin on Digene is about 3 rupees. Right. So it kind of never made sense to me in that sense. And then the other thing was like, you know, yet where we live, there is, couple of pharmacies at least within 2 kilometers of radius that probably has a Digene in their store. So, and that curiosity led me to do something bigger into the space. I and started digging deeper and deeper, and here we are 4 years later, 5 years later. That we are knee deep into the business.
I think same. If someone studied pharma, same like me, right? I have also studied bachelor pharma and an integrated MBA, right? So if like that pharma blood, right? That keeps you going. So whenever you saw some medicine, some pharma business, some medical rep on the bike, and then saw the logo on the bag, right? It keeps you strike that yeah, I want to do something in the pharma and like I want to because there is lot of opportunity, right? Lot of spaces where you can revolutionize, you can introduce tech, you can solve their inventory problem, like lot of opportunities are there. But so from like now on, like if someone meets you at the party, right, and ask you like what you do, so what will be that 30 seconds reply from you?
Sure. So we are using a technology to literally change how Indians buy and buy medicines and access healthcare, at least from the pharma perspective, all the way from starting from C&F to all the way to the consumers. So we are very much vertically integrated, and our forte is our technology platform, and that is how we look at everything. How we look at from the making the information accessible to all the stakeholders and making the supply chain more and more efficient such that whether it's a consumer, whether it's a retailer, whether it's a distributor, they all get a benefit out of this vertically integrated platform. So that's kind of what we do. I don't know if the person is going to stick around after that in a party, but that's the kind of how I would sum it up.
So with eVitalRx, I just want to know, like you are digitizing
Sure.
the core of retail pharmacy. What made
Sure.
you believe that this is the right time? Okay, and
Mm.
it is the space for disruption, right?
Yeah, so one of the things that a lot of people who has misconception about pharma, that the people who are not from pharma space, is even a small retail pharmacies that you see in your neighborhood. I'm not about the smallest ones that you can think of, but an average pharmacy, size pharmacy, they have been using some sort of software for a long, long time, right? And the very simple evidence of that is, if you have ever been to a hospital or anything and you have to put an insurance claim, they have probably provided you a printed bill. So the software always existed into pharma space for about last 30 years. In fact, most of the incumbents that are there providing the services, they were at least 25 to 30 years old, right? So the software was already there. So that was an easy part for us, that we did not have to convince somebody to completely go on a digitization mode rather than piece of paper to completely that. But more importantly, the software was outdated, right? The thing I noticed is that the whole country was moving towards this e-commerce, and now that even e-commerce looks like a very old phenomenon now that we are into e-commerce. But the other thing was the internet availability was getting better and better, right? When I grew up here, I remember I grew up on a dial-up connection in 2005 or 2004 time. And now everybody had internet, everybody had a phone, everybody had access to internet every single day. And India is, of course, the home to one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest internet in the world. So I saw that as an inflection point, say, hey, I think this is the time where people need to upgrade their technology to go to cloud, become cloud native, to be able to do things on their phone, to be able to do things even when they're not in the business, right, at the business location. And the other peculiar thing about pharma is, it's usually long hours business. A lot of time it's 7 days a week. It's not even 6 days, it's actually 7 days. And usually it's at least 12 to 14 hours a day. So if you are a pharmacy owner, you probably need a break. But if you run any type of business in this world, small, big, doesn't matter. One thing that you're thinking about your business 24 hours, right? Doesn't matter how big or small the business is. So what happens is, a pharmacy wants to go and relax or do socialization or do other things because they cannot do 14 multiplied by 7, 100 hours a week. They still need to socialize or take care of the family. They still want an eye on their business. And this is where the cloud came in. This is where the mobile came in. This is where the internet getting cheaper came in. The reliability came in. And this is the inflection point that we wanted to capture. And what we brought is eVitalRx, which is a completely cloud-based software. You can operate it from anywhere in the world where you have internet. You can make a billing, you can check inventory, you can pay payment reminders, you can do procurement, you can do pretty much anything you need to run your pharmacy, right? We actually don't even call ourselves software anymore. We are actually an operating system for the pharmacy now. So that we saw that as an inflection point. That is the opportunity we saw. The second opportunity we saw along with it is one of the things that Indian healthcare, pharma especially, lacks very badly, which all the pharma people will appreciate, is there is no standardized or centralized product catalog. There is no cataloging that is done and shared among all the stakeholders, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a hospital, whether you are a pharmacist, whether you are a retailer, whether you're a distributor, whether you're a consumer. There's no common language to refer to each other as same product. And the amount of SKUs that we have in this business, and that keeps continue to come out, there's always this vague, mapping thing needed to be done in order to communicate through the systems. So that's one other thing that we saw an opportunity that, hey, what if we actually create one catalog for everybody that everybody can communicate through, which is much bigger issue than we think. So those two things kind of stood apart for us, and that's kind of those two things we focused on. And the last thing, of course, we like to believe cloud, catalog, and customer. One of the last thing that we also saw an opportunity on is that most of the software that they were using, if they were using it was more for back-end purpose, more for accounting purpose, more for cash reconciliation purpose. The software lacked any CRM kind of tools. No, there was no way to communicate to my patient. There was no way to communicate to about payment reminder or refill reminder or pill reminder or send them notifications about something, anything like that. We were lacking quite a bit. So those three avenues: cloud, catalog, customer, cloud, catalog, customer. Those three avenues is what we saw a lot of opportunity happening, and that's kind of the design. Day one, eVitalRx is around, and that's the kind of thing we went with it to the market, and market received us with both hands, I think.
The next thing, sir, right? So, as you mentioned, the quick commerce side, that e-commerce is also now a old concept for India, right? So, quick commerce delivery medicine in the 60 minutes, right? It's not a easy thing, right? Many things comes into the picture, and people see that, yeah, you can take the medicine and you can deliver, but they don't think like it's not something that is very easy. It can be risky sometimes, right? So how do you balance the same three things like speed, safety, and the compliance?
Yeah, it's actually, yes, you're right. First of all, I always say that, if the quick commerce in pharma was same as the quick commerce in other spaces, it would have already been done, right? And largely, even now, in the mid 2025, it's largely unavailable. And it's actually, quite a quirky of the pharma itself. One is, of course, the big problem, compliance. I was actually talking to one of the largest player into quick commerce space. I won't name them, but I spoke to them and they said by this mid-year, we had a target of 100 dark stores to get a license of pharma. They could only procure for 20 of them, right? Out of 100 target that they had, they could only procure 20 of them. So when I spoke to them, we realized that, we are on the right track in doing what we do. So our concept is very clear. We do not own stores, but we actually partner up with the same client that we have on eVitalRx. If they hold enough inventory, if their workflows are hygienic enough, we turn them into a fulfillment partners, where if the medicine orders comes, they are going to fulfill as in not deliver, but they will verify the prescription, they will have the products, they will verify the products, and they will ship it to them. One of our guys, logistics partners or ourselves, will go pick it up and deliver it. The reason we do 60 minutes is also we can technically do a lot less than that actually, but we don't want to rush. And most of the deliveries are done less than that actually. Most of the deliveries are done less than 40 minutes. What we do is we want to make sure that the pharmacist has enough breathing room in terms of verifying the prescription, making sure that they are actually dispensing the right thing and they're not, out of a haste, they're not dispensing something wrong or whatnot. In the patient safety, the rider safety, in the compliance portion, making sure that every checks and balances are done, we keep it into that position. Most of the people, what they don't appreciate for the pharma is that largely, this was the reason we actually started 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that we actually wanted to do this 5 years ago. So it was never a pivot or anything. It was actually an original idea to begin with. If anything, the B2B portion, the eVitalRx was more like a pivot. And the problem is that most of the time you do not know where the products are available in the real time, right? You might be sitting somewhere and within your vicinity, within your 2-3 kilometers radius, where the products are sitting right now, you are completely ignorant about. And pharma, the problem is if you need a particular product, see, if you want chips, if you want soda, if you want chips or soda, you'd probably compromise on a brand. You're like, fine, I'll take that brand. Who cares, right? I want soda, I want soda. That's not possible with pharma, right? You probably have you want the same salt content APIs, and two, more importantly, you probably also don't want to compromise on brand. So you are quite stickler about the brand. The problem is you don't know where the brand, and that's why in 2025, if we go to the pharmacy, the bounce continues to be the biggest problem, biggest experience people have even at the pharmacy. You go 10 times to a pharmacy with the four items on your prescription, you're bound to be bounced 7 out of 10 times that, sir, ये नहीं है, ये शाम को मंगवा के देता हूं, मैं कल मंगवा के देता हूं, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. And that continues to be a pharma problem. That's problem now largely solved everywhere else. The way we approach is very simple. We build this network of pharmacies across the country. We keep continue to build this network of pharmacies across the country using our software, eVitalRx. Wherever we have a great networks, we start a quick commerce around that in those cities. And right now we've been doing this for Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and Delhi already. That is why within 3 months of launch, we could actually do this across 5 cities, right? Where like the largest player that I was talking to, they are pretty much not even present in more than 2 cities actually. And even though within those cities, it's a very limited area that they actually cover. We actually cover all of Bangalore, all of Ahmedabad, all of Pune. So we have such a unique business model around that, and we leverage the technology quite a bit for that.
Everyone. So someone who has scaled their business in food delivery platform, they also want to enter in this quick com for pharma. If someone who scaled their things in the payment system, right, e-payment system, they also want to now enter into the quick com for pharma, right? So many big players who wants to enter in this one, and then most of them is rely on the centralized warehouses, right? But like as you mentioned that you partner with the local pharmacies, so how do you see your this model as a differentiator, right? Both in terms of speed and trust, right? Other than that warehouses, and what advantage does this model give you compared to these big players, right?
Sure. So, I was actually one of the other thing we also do in PillO, we also work with corporate wellness providers, right? So companies like Bajaj Finserv, companies like Alive Health, companies like Visit Health, companies like CNH, those kind of things. We also, some of them we already work with, some of them we aspire to do, like Medibody, for example. So what happens is they need a fulfillment for the employees of the corporates. And believe me or not, it's been a quite broken experience for them. One of the company that I won't name because it's a confidential data, but they actually shared some data with us as how we did it, how did we do it over last 3 months since we started working with them. Our fill rate of all the orders that they provided us and asked us to deliver within 2 hours, our fill rate was 97%, as compared to some of the biggest name, if not the biggest name in a retail pharmacy chain, was less than 7%. And there is another name, bigger, the second biggest name is about 14%. Remind you, 97% we were at, 97%. Why this is the case? Well, it's actually very simple. I actually called up the COO in one of these companies that I happen to know. And I asked him, I say, out of pure curiosity, that why, aap kyun nahi kar pate? Technically, you should be able to do it. And he said very profound thing that has stuck with me. And it said, Kaushal, my stores are run by my employees. Your stores are run by the owners of the stores, right? So when I send an order to somebody, right, that hey, this in this part of the Bangalore, this needs to be fulfilled. Keep it ready within 3 minutes or 5 minutes. My guy will come and pick it up. That owner who's running the store is making money in every single order they process. So that incentive is over there, rather than just doing the job. And pharma is a very weird one because just because somebody does not, enforce your SLA of delivery, you cannot fire the guy because pharma relies on know-how. Pharma relies on very much of what do you call this compliance as well, right? The guy has to be registered pharmacy. The guy has to be. He should know. She should know the differences between two products and cannot dispense another one. So it's very technically challenged. It's an experience-driven business, as opposed to somebody selling the shampoo or a soda or chips. Even if they make a mistake, if they give chips to one chips to another chips, it's not the life and death situation. So what happens is these big companies actually face a dilemma that their enforcement ability of their SLA is quite poor, especially because it's employees. We rely on the owners of the stores, employee of the owners that work with the owners. There is a tremendous amount of incentive to follow the SLA very closely. And that's why even after one of the challenge people thought that we were going to have, which frankly I thought that too, but I'm completely flabbergasted about the results that we received. Is like 98% of SLAs are completed within time period, as well as 99% of the problems orders does not have any issues whatsoever, right? Sure, there are mistakes here and there. That's less than 1%, if you call it that even. And these are also minor mistakes, right? It's like, they give it, and these are mostly actually happening when the people order something on FMCG side. The other thing I would like to point out is I was talking to one of the really large reputed VC recently, 2 weeks ago, and he said something very interesting. He said there is going to be 3 verticals that the horizontal quick commerce player are not going to get into. One is fashion, the second is food, and third is pharma. And one of the reasons he believes that one peculiarity of the industry, the compliance, the SKU selection is quite large, but also something I did not even anticipate is when somebody is buying soda and chips is very in a different mindset than somebody buying allergy medication for their kids, or diarrhea medication for their kids, or dehydration or hydration oral solution or for their kids, or whatever it is. It's a very different mindset. The last thing I want to go is I want to go on a quick commerce app that I'm, all day long spending time, lollygagging and looking for a medication on the same. It's a very different mindset people go with. In fact, few cases sometimes we have had this when the pharmacy, or we cannot find a rider, third party rider or something, which happens sometimes, that's why we started building our own fleet, is when we talk to the customer, when we offer them refund, they say this very, very much, almost to the point of begging. Say, sir, मेरे को refund नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को भी medicine चाहिए, refund के लिए मैंने नहीं order किया था. So when a customer is in a state of mind, when you offer them full refund immediately, not even waiting 3 days, immediately, and customer decides to say, I don't want the refund, I want the product. And that is when you know the product is largely undelivered to the society. And that is when you know that we are onto something, that we are doing something meaningful to the society as well.
Totally agree with your points, sir. And then the mindset thing as well, that people's mindset differs when they ordered some namkeen and some soda over the quick commerce, and then when they ordered a medicine, right? So it's one thing. And then second thing that I like to conclude this conversation, that people in I think companies like in PillO, right? You are not only the founder, the whom you associated with, right? All the retail pharmacies owner, they are also the
Yes.
founder, and that's why the experience differs, right? That's why the experience
Correct.
differs. So, yeah, thank you for being on my podcast, sir. It was a
Thank
great
you.
conversation with you. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.